Well, good morning. Thank you very much indeed. I feel rather humbled, I have to say, to be here. I was looking at the list of speakers over the couple of days and thought, I don't quite see my position here, actually. All sorts of very learned people, and I'm definitely here from a practical perspective. I suppose the one thing I do have, I would suggest over most people, is that I've actually gone out as a serving soldier and as a musician and actually undertaken the kind of music and support to troops that hopefully is something that is going to be discussed further over the next 2 days. So yes, I am Major Guy Booth, and I'm the Director of Music of the Band of the Adjutant General's Corps, and we're based down in Worthy Down in Winchester. We're quite a unique team. I will just show you them. No prizes for where this was taken. And you will see that they're all wearing rifles on their shoulders, because by definition we're in the army, therefore we are all soldiers. But I would argue to the highest general in the army still today that we were all musicians long before we became soldiers. We are quite unique in the army because we are the first full-time contemporary or popular band in the armed forces, and certainly in the army. And so we do rock, pop, jazz, funk, soul, all of that sort of stuff, day in, day out. We're rather also fortunate that we don't march, which is very unique for the army. To say my musicians are happy about that would be an understatement. They love that fact. But what I'm here to talk about is what we did in Afghanistan, how we got to Afghanistan, the processes of sorting ourselves out for a tour to Afghanistan. And what struck me about this two-day experience was, for me, a rhetorical question, certainly, which was, what does the application of music to the trauma of war really mean? And I think the point is that there are bags of answers to that. Some which will be in tune, some I suspect might not be in tune. But you know what? I don't know if there's a wrong answer, because I think music in all forms is going to make a difference in some way. It's just actually what we want to do is make sure that music makes the difference in the right ways, positive ways, rather than possibly the negative ways, making them think too much of home, and therefore actually we're undoing all the good work we hope to do. So hopefully by a little bit more live music later on, some testimonies, some quotes, I will hopefully be able to put across to you what we undertook and the effect that we had on the troops in Afghanistan. So every good organisation has to have a mission, and the Corps of Army Music, who are our umbrella corps for military music in the army, they have a mission, and out of that came the mission that we required, as you can see. It's quite simple, really, and it was sponsored by the Joint Headquarters and the Army for us to go over for an 8-week tour over the Christmas and New Year periods to undertake, as you can see, welfare and troop morale support on operations through the provision of music. And this comes out of a greater piece of the jigsaw, which is the moral component of fighting power. So in other words, this is one of the pieces of the jigsaw that enables the army, wherever it goes, or the services wherever they go, to perform to the highest level of performance possibility. And we went out there with a couple of small groups and a jazz ensemble and a brass group as well. We were going to be covering pretty much every area within Afghanistan. So Kabul, Kandahar, Lashkargah, which covered the whole of the Helmand province area, which everybody hears about because that's where the British are primarily based and where it is the most dangerous, as I say. And also Bastion. Everybody hears about Camp Bastion. Camp Bastion is vast. Its perimeter fence is the size of the city of Reading, just to give you an idea of how big it is. And we were going to go over there for roughly 60 days of performance time. And in that time, 18 musicians, the people you saw behind you, covered. We did over 100 gigs in the 60 days that we were on the ground. So it's a lot of work, and we were covering every single location, plus restaurants, dining halls, for the civilian and the military population. So the plan of action, here we go. It's going to be very military, you'll see that now. We're here, we had to get here via here. No. So, number one, it's key, is it not, to know your audience. The British military musicians were fantastic in the 19th and early 20th century. Why? Because we were the people that were playing the relevant, up-to-date music in every town across the UK. Because we had, the end of the 19th, early 20th century, in excess of, I suspect, 200 army bands around about the UK. So we provided all the music that the general public couldn't afford to go and see in the big theatres and the music halls. We provided that music. Gradually over time, though, in a way we got left behind as military musicians, because we had a stock band of a wind band, and that band played arrangements of Beethoven and Mozart. I know you did Beethoven, I think it was last year, was it? At the last Musical Brain. And we played all of these sorts of works, and we played the shows and so on. But we continued to play all of that sort of stuff. So Glenn Miller came along, Second World War. I say he was massive because he came out with his new, up-to-date music, and he took that to the troops. He was very relevant as far as troop morale support goes in the Second World War. And then the British Army kind of lost its way in the musical sense as to how we could best support our troops with relevant music. So we needed to know our audience. So we needed to know the locations. What could we take to the locations? We needed to know things like the kinetic influence, i.e. how serious was the fighting. Because believe you me, it was serious, and it is still serious. We also needed to know the overall dynamic within the unit. What I mean by that is sort of local issues. So have there been any recent deaths? Serious injuries? Because we're not going to go piling in and go, hey, come on, this is us! When 2 days ago somebody was shot in the back playing football, which is exactly what happened. We needed to know that music, and we needed to believe, which we wholeheartedly did, that music in its varying forms affects people. And we had to make sure that we could go in and affect these people in the right way. So we need to understand the limitations also. Geographical, I'm talking about, say. Transportation. We couldn't take a whole band of 30-plus people in a marching capability and go to a patrol base of 40 soldiers, and I think we'll get there on a Merlin helicopter. It's just not going to happen. So we needed to understand that. The facilities and climatic conditions. Now, climate, we got there in early November to start our first short tour, and it was 80-odd degrees, and I was sunbathing in Camp Bastion. Fantastic. Don't picture it, it's not a pretty sight. We went back latterly in December, and it was really, really cold, quite rainy at one stage, and then it just went bitterly cold. So we had to be conscious of our musicians and actually being able to still play with their guitars and so on. And then we had to prepare the bands. And so in that we had to sort of prepare ourselves to achieve the outcome. What was the outcome we wanted to achieve? Well, we know what it was. It was the mission, which was to provide the troop morale support. Choose the charts. This is key. My mantra always from day one was whatever they listen to on their iPods is what we have to be playing. There is no point in taking a brass quintet and playing Gilbert and Sullivan, as much as I like it, to a bunch of soldiers who've had no support or no entertainment, and it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Just doesn't work. It's been tried, proven, doesn't work. So we went over there playing Bruno Mars, J-Lo, Daft Punk, Jessie J, and then we went a little bit older because we've got a whole mixture, so Bryan Adams, my time, Tracy Chapman, but also Ollie Murs, Maroon 5, Evanescence, a complete mixture of music that the guys and girls were listening to, because why else will they get out of their warm sleeping bags to come and listen to us if it's not going to be good music? And then you've got a plan for the unexpected. It's a war zone. The unexpected happens. For example, electrical failure. We started on Christmas Eve in one patrol base, 150 Estonians there and about 40 Brits, and we did our first number and they all went, right, brilliant! Then the power went. Right, keyboard player, you can go and get a non-alcoholic beer because the Estonians had it. You know, non-alcoholic, it's very tasty. But he went and got a non-alcoholic beer, and the rest of us did an hour and a half completely unplugged. Two of us doing vocals, one guitar and one cajon player. Boy, it was hard Plan for the unexpected. We did. We knew we could do it. And going back to the whole piece about what is the state in that unit. We had, as I mentioned earlier, a chap who in November was shot in the back playing football and killed. We went 2 days later to visit that location, and I had a cajon, guitar and a vocalist. And the chap that met us off the helicopter had carried his best friend in a body bag onto the helicopter, and carried after that the chap that had shot him, still alive at the time, onto the helicopter. And he was greeting me, and I was thinking, this is just, unbelievable. We shouldn't be doing, what should we do? And he said, no, we need you. So we set up in the cafe, 3 of us, just started jamming. Quietly, folks started coming along. We did about an hour and a half, and I think 30 plus people came in, had a brew, read the paper, whatever they were doing. And as they were leaving, every one of them said, thank you. You have made a difference. You have taken me out of my reality. And that's the power of music, without a doubt.